While my wife tries to hide and sneak out, but of course we can all see her for bringing me a cup of coffee, and it's much appreciated. We are talking still about Caitlin Clark. I'm going to get into the juicy stuff, why I'm betting Indiana between 19 and 24 to win the game. But you knew the leaders of the woke brigade had to comment on it. They had to chime in on Time Magazine's recognition of Caitlin Clark. Where would we be without the sassy blue-haired, and I still think she's not a lesbian, Sue Bird. I don't care. Sue Bird, Megan Rapinoe have entered the arena to give their 2 cents on the whole deal. If you're preparing to hear something intelligent, go somewhere else. It ain't happening. Don't hold your breath. But here's the deal. Here's Sue Bird. Now, this faction of her fan base, which we've discussed before, that is now disgusted with her acknowledging, is just showing that they were never really here for basketball. Okay. Which, by the way, just proves that there are issues with race in this country. Like, to me, this just proves it. And I think we've landed in is I'd almost want to pose some questions. Pose whatever you want, Peaches. Yeah, we got issues of race in this country. Yeah, we do. And you know what? Little African-American girls, lesbians, can't stand a little white girl playing well. Drives them crazy. Personally think she deserves to be Times Athlete of the Year. I think she earned that. And she's like, yeah, I've done enough to earn that, and I agree. Also acknowledging her white privilege. I'm not acknowledging my white privilege. Screw that. Sue Bird my ass. What can she do that others can't? What can she do that an African-American girl can't? And that is something that you're talking about your experience. That's something I've had to acknowledge in my experience. I've won the championships. I've done the things. And there is the other part to that I'm also going to acknowledge. Good for you. Yeah, great. Not me. I busted my ass. Busted it. Don't even try. Being white had nothing to do with it. In fact, I would argue being white was a hindrance and still is a hindrance in basketball. I think that what Caitlin did, this is Rapinoe now, I think what Caitlin did in her quotes or in the article was speak explicitly about her white privilege. And that is what is receiving so much criticism or backlash. And that is the lesson. That is sort of like the lesson, morons. Seriously, these people go to college. I'm sure they were Phi Beta Kappa because, what are you going to do? Give a lesbian a bad grade in college? Are you crazy? See what Ohio State does with minorities. Don't at me about it either. I think what Caitlin did in her quotes or in the article, I love this, was speak explicitly about her white privilege. And that is what is receiving so much criticism or backlash. And that is the lesson. So, for conservative media coming at her now, that obviously they're just showing their ass. Really? That's great. I don't want to see Megan Rapinoe's ass. I'm an ass man too, but I don't want to see her ass. I don't want to see any conservative guy's ass. Look, there's nothing wrong with her saying she has white privilege. It doesn't bother me. Maybe she's just being honest. But I love when everybody chimes in. What exactly was your white privilege? Has anybody ever defined what exactly their white privilege was? Anybody? My white privilege was having a mother and father. Why is that a privilege? I never hear anybody. All I hear is guys like Ryan Clark or Megan Rapinoe or Sue Bird saying, she acknowledges her white privilege. I'm a literal person. I like to be told what, when, where, why, and how. So how is her privilege? What is her privilege? Please, she had a mom and dad. That's not a white thing. Hey, man, you stick that thing in a woman, you become a dad, be a dad. That's not a privilege. That speaks to more of what others aren't doing than what some are doing. Meaning the ones that are not being a father, the ones 75% that aren't in two-family homes, that's not a privilege. That's not a privilege at all. I would never say that because I had a mom and dad, I was privileged. That's not privilege. That's just how you create a baby. Well, because you had a house, everybody got a house. Most people go play at a park. Most people go play in the street. Most people go play in a gym. Most people go play wherever. What is the white privilege? That's what I would like to hear. It's so easy to say white privilege, racist, sexist, white privilege, racist. Oh no, you're a misogynist. Okay, what? Why? What is her white privilege? Megan Rapinoe, but for all of us, just to be aware of that anytime there's anything positive or honestly, just any news at all in women's sports, it's just like immediately flooded with insanity and really divisive narratives. Well, who does that? You're right. As soon as Caitlin Clark came into the league, let me go and read her own words. It was flooded with insanity, Kennedy Carter. It was flooded with really divisive narratives. The barnacle on the ass of Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese celebrating Caitlin Clark getting knocked on her ass. It was celebrated by Cheryl Reeves basically saying it's more than one woman. These women were petty. These women were jealous. These women were racist. These women were sexist. So you're absolutely right, Megan Rapinoe, but you're looking at the wrong place. It's right there in front of you. Right there in front of you. Boom. The insanity they caused. The women of the WNBA. The craziness they caused. Divisive narratives. It's more than just one woman. They caused Cheryl Reeve. You caused it. You made the thing personal. You made the thing, you made the thing, you made the thing personal. You made the thing racist. You made the thing sexist, straight white girl. And now you're trying to pin all this onto what? Conservative males? No. The whole thing was insanity because African-American women, white women, can't stand to see other women succeed in sports. Period. Hell, the Fever had to go to the damn WNBA office because of the atrociously racist things that were being said to Caitlin Clark. Not by me as a conservative male, but by you as an African-American coworker in the WNBA. Now, that's a fact. But somehow, some way, according to the crazy lesbians, they're never at fault. Let me read this again. It's just like immediately flooded with insanity and really divisive narratives. What the hell was the WNBA about the second Caitlin Clark stepped on the court? I will tell you, insanity and divisive narratives. And to think that, like, when we as athletes are being used, when is your narrative? When is your like being used? When are the things that you're saying be used? Yeah, well, okay, that's just like, you might as well, I don't know. You might as well be under Lizzo trying to talk like that. I mean, what are you doing? But the truth of the matter is they're so full of shit. They started an incredibly divisive narrative, and they can't wait because white man bad, white conservative man real bad, orange man worse, instead of just being honest and saying, look, as a lesbian community, we didn't accept it. As African-American community, we were jealous of them. As coaches, we were idiots about it. I mean, when they put out more than one woman, please. More than one woman. Can you imagine Michael Jordan's doing his thing and Pat Riley's got a little hashtag on his shirt or on his bracelet? More than one player. My wife is brilliant when it comes to women's sports, as she's been in it forever. And when she said that to me the second Caitlin Clark got in the league, man, holy cow. Brilliant upon brilliant upon brilliant. Women in sports do not like to see other women in sports succeed. There you go. I love it. I don't like it. No, I love it when coaches get fiery with the media. They get all fired up. Brian Callahan's Not taking it anymore. Brian Callahan of the Tennessee Titans in his first year getting his ass pounded. I'm sure before Brian Callahan became a head coach with his daddy, who was a coach, longtime coach at a variety of places, including Nebraska Cornhuskers. But I'm sure Brian Callahan had all the answers. Assistants always do. I did. Hell, Coach Knight doesn't know what he's doing. I know what I'm doing. So Brian Callahan gets thrust in. We're going to be the anti-Vrabel. The anti-Vrabel means Vrabel too tough. Callahan softer, more player-oriented. We did the same thing in Indy. We had Grigson, too tough, general manager. Softer, relationships, Chris Ballard. Losing record, no playoff wins, or one playoff win in 8 years. No division titles, out of the playoffs again. You know what I'm saying? And the Titans were dumb enough to fall for it, but the coach is not going down lightly with his 3-13 record as they head into Lucas Oil Stadium to play the Colts on Sunday. You will face the wrath of head coach Brian Callahan. Watch as the head man, the HMFIC of the 3-11 Titans, gets miffed over the accusation just because we don't win football games doesn't mean we're soft. And then he attacks the media. They don't know anything about NFL football. I can drink to that. Let's hear it, Callahan. Give it to me, baby.
You respond to that idea?
I mean, you really want to get me going today? Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, I think it's complete and total bullshit, if you want my honest opinion. These guys are tough, man. They go after it every day. They play hard as hell. And there's at no point have we ever put on tape at any point this season that this is a soft football team. Like, I can't even wrap my mind around how that would even be a conversation. I mean, just because we don't win games doesn't mean we're soft. These guys play their ass off. They play hard. They play physical. You can ask any team that plays against us that when they come off the field, they know they played us. Yeah, that makes me relatively angry that would be some presumption. That means you just don't watch the shit. You know, you don't do anything about it. That you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're looking at. So I won't stand for. I'm not going to stand for anybody calling this football team soft. I think that's bullshit. So if there's opinions out there that feel that way, then they don't know anything about NFL football. So I'd like you to walk in there and call one of these guys soft and see what happens. This is not a soft football team at all, mentally or physically. And I think one of the things mentally that's really been impressive about the team is that the way that they keep fighting through the way that this season has gone. They've not shown at any point that they're not up to the task. They come out every day and work. They have. I mean, I'm really. You're gonna really get me going now. I mean, these guys come out here and they do everything possible to win games. And if there's any assumption anywhere that's outside of this building, again, we don't focus on all those things, but there's no possible explanation to say that this team is soft any way, shape, or form, mentally or physically. And the way that they go about their work it's insulting to me, to them, to everyone that works here. So I'm not that no chance ever in hell would I ever admit that to be the case, and neither would anybody.
Yeah, good for him. I mean, truthfully, as a coach, you can't let people say, hey, look, your team's soft. You have to stand. Can you imagine in this day and age, if you let that go, you can't. And one of the things you do as a coach when you get pissed, I did this numerous, you just ramble. You just want to get everything in there. You want to get everything you can into the sentence, and it becomes like scrambled eggs. You're over here, you're over here. But I don't blame him. You could have saved us all by saying, and there's nothing soft about this team. We just suck. And we got to get better. But you can't do that. So good for Brian Callahan. Look, I like when coaches stand up for their guys. I do. And he's doing that. And that's good by me. It really is. No, that's really good. I'm not mad at him. I know people will make fun of him. Look, when you win, you could be, you could be Moses coming down with the commandments. Like Nick Saban gives a speech. You're not owed anything every day, and everybody sings Kumbaya and blah, 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 blah. Why? Because he taught guys to push a ball past the line. But when you lose and you do something like that, then you get crushed. Then it comes at you. We saw it with our friend Doug Gottlieb, who I saw the whole thing that he said. He didn't say it was nobody you. He was talking about scheduling. But again, if you're on the wrong side of the media, that's the way this is. And I think Callahan is, not because he's not a good guy. He's a really good guy by all accounts, just because he's loose. And that's it. That's it. All right. For the love of God, you Jets fans, if this story turns out to be true, I would argue that you have zero shot to ever, I'll even say, make the playoffs. I don't know, but according to The Atlantic, Jets owner Woody Johnson vetoed, nixed a trade for current Browns wide receiver Jerry Jeudy. Okay, that happened. Why did he do it? Johnson looked at the Madden ratings, didn't think Jeudy's ratings were high enough to be a good player. Now, Jeudy's had a monster year. I mean, a bit of a pain in the ass, and certainly the Broncos haven't missed him, but he's been pretty good over there in Cleveland. But the Madden rating determined for an owner whether or not we're going to pick up a game-breaking wide receiver. The Jets owner vetoed a trade for a player because of a video game rating, according to a new report from The Athletic. Then New York general manager Joe Douglas and Denver counterpart George Patton were in deep negotiations. We're getting in deep here for a trade that would have sent Jeudy to the Jets. Patton felt a deal was near until it fell through, which is where Johnson and video games entered the equation. This can't be real. Douglas told the Broncos that Johnson didn't want to make the trade because the owner felt Jeudy's player rating in Madden NFL, the popular video game, wasn't high enough, according to multiple league sources. Nick, I don't know what to tell you boys. The report also alleges that Johnson nixed the Jeudy trade based on his Madden rating isn't the first time he's elected to do so. Johnson reportedly pushed back on signing free agent guard John Simpson due to a lackluster awareness rating in Madden. Yet the Jets signed him anyway. Jeudy, as you know, was ultimately traded to the Browns, inked a 3-year deal with the franchise. He's been an incredibly impactful player for the mediocre Browns, 70 for 1,052 already this year. Jets do not have a receiver on their roster who has surpassed the 1,000-yard mark this season, although Garrett Wilson will get there, 933. Man, if you ever want the steaming definition of hire people to do their job and then let them do their job, or else don't hire those people. There it is. There it is, right there. That is the whoa. Like, hey, Woody, we want to make this deal. We need a receiver. We got Aaron Rodgers here. It's going to be a good deal for everybody. Broncos are ready to make the deal. Hold on. I'll get back to you. What's his man rating? Nope, can't do it. What? No? What do you mean? Well, his Madden rating isn't high enough. What? Madden rating? How about the way we rate him? See, that's the thing. If you're going to let football people do their job doing football things, getting coaches, getting players, getting free agents, hiring assistants, you don't do it off of a Madden rating, off of a video game rating. Jeez. I bet you, though, I will bet you there are some people out there that'll say, why not? Why not? Those people put a lot of time into those ratings. Oh, Judy. Yeah, my bad. Yeah, I had him, Aaron. I had him on my fantasy team last year, and I didn't like anything about him. What'd I call him? Judy? Judy. Yeah, Jerry Jeudy. I liked him at Alabama. I thought he was going to be a star. I didn't know what his Madden rating was, but Judy's Madden rating apparently ain't good. Ain't good enough for Woody Johnson and what he's building. Hey, look, all you guys, whether it's Aaron, Nick, run. Do like we told Travis Hunter, which, by the way, a lot of people are criticizing me and others for telling Travis Hunter to run. Why? If your name's not Travis or your name's not Leona Monona, you have no business. No, I'm talking as a dad. Run. Get out. Like, hey, if Travis Hunter Sr. or it doesn't tell him, I'll tell you, run. Anyway, All good. Big Bad Stephen A. Smith is now warning. Oh, wow. We're warning people. This is where we're at ESPN. Warning Aaron Rodgers not to continue his feud with his co-worker, Ryan Clark, stating, you don't want to go at him. Are the hosts at ESPN some of the thinnest skinned people in the world? Oh, God, yes. Oh, God, yes. Why don't you want to go at Ryan Clark? What are you guys going to do? Have a throwdown? Look, it's amazing how these guys thrust themselves into the game, thrust themselves. And, Aaron Rodgers has never mentioned Ryan Clark, but my man, ball and win. Because the reality is, as great as you are, you haven't won a Super Bowl since 2010. Okay, what does that have to do with this feud? I mean, the other team's on scholarship too. This is what guys that never played, like Stephen A. Smith, will never understand. Now your career's going in the wrong direction based on wins and losses. They want you to dial it back, roll it back to next year with you, Devontae Adams here next year and beyond. Do something about it, bro. Show us what you got left. Going after Ryan Clark, that ain't going to do much for you. Ryan Clark and I have gone at each other in the past. You don't have a platform every day like I do. You don't want to go at Ryan Clark. That's not a winnable situation for you, Aaron Rodgers. Well, define winnable. I mean, I would say right now, the vast majority of people think Ryan Clark is a little sniveling, fraudulent douchebag. And I think Aaron Rodgers has helped put that in our minds. So I don't know, define winnable. I mean, I'll hang up and listen. I get it when they say, don't go at people that buy ink by the barrel. And that's now, don't go at people that have streaming shows that are very popular. I get that. But sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, and I do this, and it's not the greatest thing, sometimes you gotta amuse yourself. Sometimes you watch some little douchebag that comes at you, and you know you shouldn't, but there's a competitiveness in you, there's a toughness in you that you just gotta come back. And I get it. I do. I get it. And that's what Aaron Rodgers is doing. Aaron Rodgers is saying, hey, look, man, I've had enough. I've had enough of you and you and you. Who gives a rat's ass what a couple clowns on TV pontificate? Yeah, see, Aaron Rodgers put himself in this position because he hasn't won enough. But when guys that haven't played, like Stephen A. Smith, go about, well, you haven't won yet. Oh, just shut up. You couldn't play dead. You couldn't play the Division 18. You want to criticize his stance, great, but his play, shut up. No, seriously, that's really stupid. Woke Gasback, I sat next to Dick Durbin at a game in Wrigley Field. I kind of liked him. Democrat senator got promptly roasted after he tweeted out his stance on transgender athlete competing against biological males. Why do they refuse to admit that any amount of trans athlete competing against biological males is wrong? Here's what Durbin had to say. Durbin is trying to be the voice. 510,000, 10 or fewer transgender NCAA athletes. Let's focus on ways to actually improve women's sports. Okay. All right, fine. There you go. All right, here's roast number one. Here comes roast number one. Then why are we making 500,000 athletes bend to the will of the 10? Because that's what Charlie, what's his name, Baker, the actual Republican governor from Massachusetts, now he's the commissioner of the NCAA. That's what he's saying. Hey, if you're uncomfortable with a dude with a schwanz in your locker room, you can leave. The locals will have another place. If there's 510,000, why are they bending to the 10? I mean, it's a legit question. It's a question that probably should get answered. Here's another one. So you're saying we should cater to the 0.0019%. That's the percent 10 into 510,000. Isn't that what we do? Isn't it the line? Smart people have to shut up so that dumb people aren't offended. Isn't that what it's all about here, right? That's kind of the move we make. One girl forced to give up her spot is one too many. One girl forced to disrobe in front of a male without her consent is too many. Sex matters. Women's safety matters. One is not a small number when you or your daughter is the one. Boy, do I agree with that. Boy, I agree with all that. Look, I get what Durbin is saying. Durbin is saying he's making light of it. He's making light of it without offending anybody, right? He's trying to say, okay, this is not a big problem. But the question is asked, why do 10 out of 510,000? Why are the 510,000 bending the knee to the 10? Nobody's going to answer that. Durbin hasn't had an answer. He got his little statement out and then he runs and hides. But that's a legit question. It's a legit question that you're not going to get answered. Again, we live in a world where smart people must be silenced so dumb people don't get offended. Hey, listen to this. It pays to be, the worst politician ever. And I would argue that Kamala Harris was the worst politician that I ever seen. Even Jimmy Carter had some redeeming qualities about him. I mean, he was a guy that, until he actually took over the country, did run Georgia, did do some things. This girl had nothing. Kamala Harris had absolutely nothing. No energy, no intelligence. She had no ability to speak coherent sentences. She had nothing. Yet, reports are emerging that Harris is set to receive an Obama-type money from book publishers as she seeks to cash in on her failed reign as vice president and presidential campaign. I'm going to read the numbers, but before I do, let me ask you a very simple question. Would you? No, not that, you pigs. Would you read it? I think J.D. Vance, who there is already a movie and a book out on, went through the process with Trump and Biden and Harris and came out of it more interesting. J.D. Vance wants to write a book on this election. I would probably read it. Kamala Harris came into this uninteresting. She went through it, elevated to the Democratic candidate for president as a sitting VP. And if you think about that, that's pretty strong. That's really strong. But let me ask you, did she come out of it any more interesting? Did she come out of it with you saying, you know what? The more I see her, the smarter she is. The more I see her, the better I like her. Of course, the answer is no. Vance did. I'm not sure Trump does. I'm not 100%. If you were seriously going to say to me, hey, the more you hear of Trump, the smarter he is, I might say, maybe. But J.D. Vance, 100%. Joe Biden, come on. I mean, he's a vegetable. So my question is, and I'm going to get into the numbers here, would you read her book? Now, if you're watching this, you're probably a conservative. Your answer is going to be no. But interesting people cross over. So, according to UK's Daily Mail, which cites multiple sources, top publishers are offering up to $20 million. $20 million. Now, I'm going to say that again, for the exclusive rights for the vice president and failed Democratic presidential nominee to apparently talk about how she not only blew the election, but also blew through a whopping $1.5 billion in fundraising war chest. Now, I get it. There are people that are like, hey, look, man, I don't give a shit. You can throw a dog out there and I'm voting Democratic. There are people that say, hey, I don't care, man. You can throw a dog against Trump and I'm voting for the dog. I'm not voting for Trump. I'm not, I get all that, right? People do all that. We understand that. But when you think about the bullet that we all dodged with this woman, you go through $1.5 billion in campaign funds. She was running a slush fund. The only interesting thing would be if somebody outside of her wrote what really happened. Because the amount of lies these people tell, you're telling me you're going to pick up a book that she's making 20 million on. You're going to pick this book up, and you, based on what she has said over the course of the last 6-8 months, you're going to believe what is said in that book? Not a chance in hell. I'm not. No chance. The Daily Mail quotes a Harris insider as saying, virtually the moment Kamala lost to Trump, the offers began pouring in from the publishing world for her to do the definitive book on what really went on between Joe and Kamala. What went right? What went right? What went wrong? Huh? Inside the Oval Office walls and all the ups and downs of her campaign, the source then says that the book deal offer would be in the $20 million range. God bless Obama, Clinton. God bless all these guys that figured out you can go into politics, get rich as hell, right? You can go into politics and get steeled up against any kind of accusations, against any kind of, I don't know, nefarious type behavior. God bless you, Obama. Hell yeah. Probably not the first one. My guess is Joe Kennedy, going back to the Kennedys, and many before did the same thing. But all I know is this, man, Obama's never had a job. He comes and becomes a senator, a state rep, or U.S. senator, whatever the hell he was, and ends up as a president. And now he lives in a house the size of this neighborhood. It is amazing. It is astounding. Hey, good for Kamala Harris. Would you pay her $20 million? I don't know how many books you got to sell. I don't know how many tapes you got to sell. I don't know how many transcripts you got to sell. I don't know what you got to do, but there ain't no way in hell I'm paying her $20 million. But apparently that's on the table, considering one of the biggest complaints against Harris was her inability to speak and connect like a normal person to the American people during her campaign run. Something tells me this book is going to be a major flop if the 20 million price tag is actually correct. Let's not forget that Harris faced multiple plagiarisms accusations for her 2009 book, Smart on Crime, in which she was one of the co-authors of, while she was the San Francisco district attorney. You can't make this up. You know, there was a time when in the United States, certainly in elections, if you plagiarized, you were out. No, there wasn't. I mean, Joe Biden was out in the 80s and the 90s from being a liar. But now, what? They caught me doing what? Okay, yeah, they're right. Yeah, I may have taken some liberties, but hey, don't worry about it. We'll be right back in the race. Like, what? You know what I mean? Like, there was a time when honor and dignity, and that time has absolutely passed. That time is nowhere near around here. None, zero, zip.